So this just happened with the Nintendo Switch 2. I could not believe my eyes and my ears when I heard what was said by someone for a very long time. Now, obviously, it's not the most current thing because of the Switch 1 success and now the Nintendo Switch 2. But Michael Pachter was one of the biggest, I would just say, like, anti-Nintendo dudes out there back in the day. And looking back at it, I was definitely wrong about a lot of stuff with the Wii U. He was right about Wii U. He was wrong about the Nintendo 3DS. So one-on-one for both of us. But I would have never thought that anything with this controversy, and it's not just Michael Pachter when it comes to what people are saying, but what he says kind of signifies what so many people are thinking. But to the point to where Sony and this whole physical game controversy and what's going on here is so bad that people are saying these type of things about the Nintendo Switch 2, which we're going to get into, but I just found it to be wild. I can't believe this is happening at this point. It's been something that I've been saying with little things here and there. And once again, Nintendo is absolutely not perfect. There are absolutely things like the game keycard, $80 games, blah, blah, blah. Right? There's a bunch of stuff that I've talked about multiple times. But right now at this point, this industry is in turmoil. It's in flux. There are issues, and it's so bad, people are saying things like this that we have to talk about. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. So on a recent episode of the Pachter Factor from Sifted Games, Shane Satterfield, GameTrailers.com guy, actually really cool person, met him a decade plus ago, really helped me when it comes to just thinking of ideas and my own career and what I was doing at the time when I interviewed him. So shout outs to Shane Satterfield and what he's doing over there. The fact that he's still doing it is awesome. But in a recent episode of the Pachter Factor, it was titled, "Is PlayStation Killing Physical Games a Smart Business Decision?" Pachter Factor Live episode 88. I'll have a link to it in the description. But check this out, what Michael Pachter had to say here towards the end of the video.
No, nothing you can do about it. No, Microsoft won't seize an advantage here. Yes, Nintendo has a slight advantage, but they honestly aren't influenced in their decision making by that. They are a consumer friendly company. They are a consumer friendly company, and I think that they will continue. But notice that Nintendo offers a discount for digital download versus physical. So Nintendo is taking away the benefit that they get by forcing digital by offering a discount on digital, which I think is brilliant. And so, they're going to stick with physical because they made the decision to go that way. Sony could have emulated that, but they chose not to, which is really greedy. But that's Sony. Sony is a greedy, poorly run company who's not consumer friendly at all.
Did I just hear that correctly? One, Nintendo, they are a consumer-friendly company. Two, they offer a digital discount for games physical versus digital. Yes, we know that, but the thing that was interesting was he said he thinks that is brilliant to offer that discount, so business-wise. Then he goes, three, they are going to stick with physical. And four, Sony could have emulated this, but chose not to, which is really greedy. And five, there's one more, bonus. Sony is a greedy, poorly run company who's not consumer friendly at all. Seriously, my mind was blown when it comes to that. You usually hear people saying that about Nintendo. Even right now, you'll find so many posts on Twitter, social media, that will make it seem as if Nintendo's the one who has $1,000 system, who's getting rid of physical on the market. You would think that based off of it. But there are so many things that people are upset with when it comes to Sony and them getting rid of physical games. This is what it's came down to. Offering a discount for digital versus physical. That's something that nobody was really willing to do consistently with games, with first-party titles or with games. Nintendo has been known for having very few discounts when it comes to their games over a long period of time. They like to keep the value of their games, so you can talk about that being anti-consumer or greedy or not. But Nintendo's also the company who does not lay off their workers, who does not shut down studios. Even if a game doesn't do as well, you will not see the type of destruction that Microsoft and Sony do when something isn't doing well. So I do feel that there is a connection between the business of keeping value with your IP over the long course of time and making sure that you're financially secure enough to where your developers aren't fired when a game doesn't do as well, or developers have good salaries and they have job security compared to getting your discounts and getting your games on sale, but that whole studio could be sold off regardless of how good the game is. Even sometimes based on how it sells, there still could be some issues, and that's what we see with Microsoft and Sony. But I guess people are enjoying those discounts that you're getting. Well, when the games are actually made, sometimes they just don't get made at all, like Perfect Dark, when they were advertising the Xbox Series the whole generation up until they just canceled the game and shut down the studio that they spent millions upon millions of dollars making in the first place to bring back Perfect Dark. Maybe I'm wrong on this one. I'll take the Nintendo side when it comes to that. I rather have Monolith Soft and Intelligent Systems and all these developers that maybe don't make the highest selling games still have jobs and still have somewhere to go to make incredible things like Xenoblade Genesis, for example. We know that's probably not going to sell like Mario or Zelda, but we know that they have a secure future because Nintendo is like that when it comes to making sure that their games, once again, have a certain value, and two, make sure that they pay their employees and keep everything stable. Like I said, not perfect when it comes to everything with the company. Obviously, there's many things that I've complained about, but the fact that we have people saying this, which is, once again, you'll see it on social media, the fact that Pachter said this, it just kind of blew my mind. I couldn't believe that this was actually happening, but what he's saying when it comes to at least the digital discount and when it comes to some of the stuff like keeping physical around, that stuff is obviously more pro-consumer than, you know, getting rid of physical at this point. But what he said about Sony's a greedy, poorly run company who's not consumer friendly at all. Man, that's just something that you start seeing people saying a lot more now because of the physical game situation. Now, I'm not here to trash Sony up, down, left, and right. Listen, man, I've been buying Sony products for a very long time. I have a PlayStation 5 Pro, which seems like an incredible steal at the price that I got it at, because I got it for $700 back in early 2025 before the first price increase to $750, and they had another price increase this year, 2026, to $900. So that was crazy. But I have a PlayStation 5 Pro. I've been buying a bunch of PlayStation 5 games. I actually just got a couple of PlayStation 5 games, and I'll be buying more because I want to see the physical games here. The one thing that I've known, or the one thing that I think that I see some people talking about too much online, and it's stupid, we should all be working towards the common goal of getting physical games to stay around. People are arguing and doing whataboutisms and saying, oh, well, when this company does it, or when this company doesn't have this type of energy. And I get that. People want to make sure that there's no hypocrisy and all of that. But right now, we should be buying physical games, and we should be letting Sony know that we don't want to see the end of physical games. Just like people are buying actual games on card and letting the companies know we don't want game key cards, which I've done many times. Now, I know game key cards are a bit different than ending physical media outright, and there's obviously a reason for game key cards because of the medium, and cartridges are way more expensive than physical discs. So it's a bit of a different situation when you're talking about huge AAA games that might not fit on the 64 gigabytes and different types of transfer speeds. So there is a lot of nuance to that. But ultimately speaking, we don't want game key cards. A lot of us do not want game key cards, and we're letting the developers know, and many of them are now using that as motivation and fuel to make games full on card, like the Oblivion situation that we have. And also, what else? Orbitals, that's another one. Mouse PI for hire, that's fully on card. So as long as we come together as gamers, we can achieve some incredible things. We can get more physical games on card with the Switch 2. We can hopefully get more developers to somehow get Sony to reverse this decision. I mean, I don't know how they're going to, and it does seem more likely that Sony isn't going to reverse this decision. Michael Pachter talked about it. Other analysts have talked about it. Sony obviously knew that there was going to be a big backlash to this, but they let Grand Theft Auto take the heat and take that first, and then they came in after that. I think that they knew, obviously they knew, because Grand Theft Auto is not a physical game. They knew that there would be no orders for physical games, but they let Grand Theft Auto come in first, and it's a game that everybody wants. People have been buying PlayStation 5s just for this game all generation because people have been anticipating it. This game was supposed to come out in 2025, got delayed multiple times. So people have been buying PlayStation 5s for Grand Theft Auto for years now. And they know that people, no matter what, even if they're angry about the physical game situation, they're still going to buy the PlayStation 5 or buy the game, even if it's digital only. And even if it's $100, people are spending $100 on that pretty much because the $80 version completely leaves out some valuable things in the game. Like, it leaves out content, like a lot of content. So people want the full experience of Grand Theft Auto 6 after waiting so long for the game. That's the thing. They just let them do that. Sony knew what was going to happen. And ultimately, it's just crazy to see how it is. Right now, the pressure needs to be applied. It needs to be continuously applied onto Nintendo, onto more like the third parties, more like it. The third parties, when it comes to game key cards, when it's possible to do a physical game card, the pressure needs to be applied to Sony and them ending, because remember, they get all the orders and they manufacture them themselves from third parties and their own first parties. That needs to be applied so where we get some type of compromise. I was talking about this with Mr. Matty Plays and John on the Spawn Wave Spawncast. We had a great Spawncast this past week, and one of the things that they said is that there should be some type of compromise. Maybe there can be a direct to order situation because they're not completely getting rid of any way to manufacture a Blu-ray disc. Like, they can still do it. You know why we know this? Because Sony did confirm that if a game previously released before January 2028, that can be reprinted. There can be more orders printed. So there is going to be a factory that prints Blu-ray discs for video games and maybe even for movies. So if they can do that, they can absolutely take new orders and print that. They just don't want to because they want to collect more money on each of the games sold and push people to that so they can have a higher profit margin, which once again is a short-sighted situation. It's a short-sighted solution to a bigger problem that they're having with physical games and with retailers and the cut and the profitability of said games. And I just think that, in my opinion at least, if we keep the pressure up, if we continuously buy Sony games physical, and if you have PSN, if you cancel that, if they see a noticeable incline in physical game sales and a decline in PSN revenue or digital revenue, that's something that they can say, okay, we can potentially make a compromise. And if PlayStation 6 comes out and people are not buying it, I think they can still reverse course. It might take another year or so or a few years, but they can absolutely reverse course and change this terrible decision. This is not about a whataboutism when it comes to Nintendo, and what about when they do it in some type of 20XX? We'll be just as upset. What this is about is making sure that we have the option of choice for consumers. Even if you only play all digital, you're still benefited from having that choice. Even if you want to buy a game for a family member, or sometimes even having games cheaper physical gets you digital discounts. There has been multiple times where people post the physical sale of a game and then all of a sudden magically it just becomes on sale digitally and people go and pick it up digitally. This has happened so many times. If you don't think developers are looking at those prices and saying, okay, we've got to match sometimes, or maybe we can kind of get that going so they can get that revenue instead of the retailer, they're going to do it. Like, they're 100% going to do that so many times, and vice versa. Sometimes there's digital stuff, then physical, it's matched. And we even see that right now with the digital matching of first-party Nintendo games and even some third-party games. You're going to be able to get those at the digital pricing on Amazon and Walmart for pre-order. So it's a hand-in-hand thing. It's not one over the other. It's both. And I really wish that people would stop fighting on that front so we can kind of come together and get something done. Now, recently, it was a really interesting thing that happened with the College Football 27. That game had built-in microtransactions for single player, the dynasty mode or whatever it was. This was a big controversy. Angry Joe and multiple other people talked about it. This was a very big controversy where you literally have these microtransactions in the single player game, and people revolted. The fans said this is unacceptable. There were multiple videos. People were saying that they're going to sell their game, or they're not going to buy it, or they're done when it comes to college football. And guess what? EA reversed the decision. And I know that's something that's maybe not as big as completely ending physical media, and there's a lot more money involved with Sony, but you guys can see if people go against something that's clearly wrong, there is nothing that benefits having single player microtransactions baked into the dynasty mode. That is not something that's good. There is no benefit to really anybody because it's zapping your potential progression to push you to try to buy microtransactions. So nothing good comes out of this at all. But the fact that people actually spoke up and said something is absolutely a good thing because it's going to benefit the consumers out there. And we can do the same thing when it comes to physical, when it comes to game key cards, when it comes to what's happening here. If enough people actually speak up and say, hey, vote with your wallet, then I do think things can change. It's not about one versus the other. I've been buying PlayStation systems, Xbox systems, and Nintendo systems for decades now. Doesn't matter how many times people call me names, call me fanboy, or call me any of this stuff. That's stupid. It doesn't matter. I spend more money on these things than these people calling me names. So that's irrelevant. What's relevant is getting the best for you, the consumer, and having choice and options is the best for you and me and everyone. Removing options is no benefit to anybody but Sony, but these people making the shots and making the calls. Removing the physical option only benefits them. It does not benefit us in any type of way. It just removes choice. And I think that ultimately it's going to be a big mistake if Sony decides to go through with this and they don't change. You can walk into Walmart, I said this before and I'll say it again, you can buy physical books. You can still buy record players, vinyl. You can still buy CDs. You can still buy Blu-rays. You can still buy lots of stuff. There's no need to kill the medium. There's no need to kill physical games outside of just they're going to be greedy. That's really it. That's the only reason. There's no other reason outside of that. They just want more money per the sale and want to push everyone towards that. There's no logical reason to do it. Blu-ray discs are cheap to manufacture. Yes, the price that it gets when it comes to like how much they make off the game, yes, that's different. But that doesn't mean it should be removed as an option. You're selling millions upon millions, billions of microtransactions and digital sales. So to me, this is just a bad move when it comes down to it. And it's gotten so bad to the point to where people are saying Nintendo is the consumer-friendly company making incredible, brilliant decisions and that they look like the good guys in all of this. But what do you think when it comes to everything we talked about here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this one here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.